Are you
Waiting for
supposed to
Pueblo.
do something?
I think I'm supposed to say go live or something.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, and it's live, 100%. I think.
So this scheduling thing just didn't fucking matter.
Well, it did in a way. It's just like
It still isn't live for me.
it's still waiting. I mean, I hit like the live thing, so it's like it's been live for 20 seconds. Maybe there's like definitely there's a little bit of a delay, I would
I'll
guess.
keep refreshing.
Keep
There's
refreshing,
nothing.
man.
I've got nothing.
I'm on the studio thing, on YouTube Studio, and it's live. So
Okay.
I don't even know what's up. I don't even know why it's waiting for me. I mean, the date is today. Yeah, if you hit
Yeah.
play, we're live. Yeah, yeah, it's working. It's working for me.
It's not. Oh, wait. An ad. I've got an ad.
Exactly.
There we go. I've got. Well done.
Oh
You
my
are. We're
god.
now lying in your I'm lying in your pockets with the introduction of this fucking
Oh,
podcast.
sweet, bon bon, sweet.
Skip ads. I'm not going to watch. There we go. We are
Yeah,
live. Here we go.
as we should
There's
be.
still. Yeah, as it should be.
Yeah,
God damn. It is delayed as well, man. Okay,
it
that's
is. It
cool.
is. It is very
We can
delayed.
just jump into the podcast anyway. It
Yeah.
is the Sunday Roast podcast, episode 30. As usual, I am the maestro that is LAZYBOYLOOPS, also known as Aaron. I did that backwards, but whatever. And joining me today, really super special guest, is the U.S. Navy sailor in the famed photograph VJ Day in Times Square, taken by Alfred Eisenstadt. It's Paul, aka Pueblo Vista.
Hello, guys. What's poppin'?
Oh man, it has been a while. It's been a little while.
It's definitely been a while. Us boomers are getting more boomery every fucking day. It's insane. Like we can not. It's like the problem. The reason why we're late is actually we cannot deal with technology all this time.
Well,
Like it's crazy. Like
it's
all these new
our
updates
organization skills are
are
lackluster at best. I mean, the week before last, where we were supposed to go live, I get a message for you from you like mid Wednesday, like this Sunday was meant to be a podcast, and I was like, oh, was it? and then
whoopsie.
and then last
Whoops.
weekend, it was like we were about to, and then you were like, nah, there's stuff happening at home. I've got to do. Like, I'm not leaving and doing this podcast. It's not
Yeah,
worth it.
yeah,
And I was like, that's chill. Family comes first, whatever. So, we have life to deal with, and
exactly. And it's very
you
important to us.
fucking lo-fi people have to just deal with that.
Sadly, sadly, whether you like it or not, it is what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think no, I think it's good. I mean, nobody's watching on YouTube, but nobody gives a fuck. Or it says 5 watching right now. Is it like really 5 people? I don't
Apparently
know.
so.
Anyway,
So,
maybe it
so
is.
for those, I guess for
Maybe it
those
isn't.
listening behind, we are definitely we're trying something new. We are
Yeah,
on YouTube.
as
It
all.
is super exciting, and we're just testing new things, which is very difficult for us trying new things. So yeah, YouTube. Hi YouTube, how you going? It's fun adventures. Let's jump into something super. Let's just get straight into shit. Like
Yeah, let's
this is the
go.
list that. As you know, we're getting more organized. We're actually writing down things that we want to talk about, and this list has kind of been ever evolving since probably the start of January.
Yeah.
Like some of these stuff, like this stuff has been kind of bouncing in and out since January. So yeah, I think the biggest thing I think that's rocking the lo-fi scene at the minute is the lack of editorial updates. And oh my god, is lo-fi panicking right now? So to kind of just sum it up very briefly, a lot of the editorials within the lo-fi space haven't really been updated that regularly, or they are now slowly starting to be updated, but really bizarrely. Like it's like usually it used to be like on the clock Fridays at some point. Usually it was like 1 a.m. UK time on a Friday that they were updated. Like clockwork. And now we're not getting like shit. They're being
Ah,
updated. What, Wednesday
the
or
boys are
something
the
like that?
boys are freaking out. The boys are freaking out. The boys are freaking
Exactly.
out. It's
And
crazy.
this this kind of coincides with Spotify having some layoffs recently. They laid off, I think, something silly like 5% of their team, which equates to around about 500 to 600 people. Which, it's a shame that people are losing their jobs, but in turn, this has caused, I feel, a bit of chaos within the editorial teams as well, because I think they're really trying to, I guess, push out things that are a bit more engaging, a bit more different. A lot of things are happening within Spotify at the minute in terms of new features and things. So, like, there's, well, I say that there's rumors. They are rolling out a TikTok-like homepage experience on the Spotify app. So you're just like swiping through different, like, I guess, animated windows.
Yeah.
Because apparently all we do now is just fucking swipe for content. They've announced that Spotify DJ thing as well. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have seen it, but I don't think they rolled it out. I'm not sure if it rolled out entirely everywhere, or
No,
it's
it's
just
just
like
in Canada
usually.
and the US at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, they're really working on features to, I guess, keep audiences engaged with the app itself rather than curating editorials. And I think that's having a huge knock-on effect to the lo-fi scene, because from around about 30 odd playlists that we track as a label, like only a very small fraction have been updated like regularly enough. So the last main big update like the blanket update was, I think, the 20th of January. And
Yeah.
then since then, only some of the kind of main big ones. I mean, it took 2 weeks since the 20th of January for one of the main beat lo-fi playlists to update. And
Only.
honestly, like, that was such a crazy time for, I guess, lo-fi beats, because that 2 weeks meant that music wasn't being played. Like, lo-fi music wasn't being played for the most part. Like, I was seeing, like, I was looking at some of the more like bigger releases from some of the like bigger labels in the scene, and you know, I use Spotify Uncharted to kind of explore the different subgenres that Spotify has for, like, focus beats, like jazz,
Yeah.
jazz boom bap, chill beats, lo-fi, and stuff. And a lot of the music that would be normally be released and have a popularity score of like 34 to 35, like day of launch, because they would be getting placed on editorials, we're sitting at like 0 to 2 popularity score. Like, the scene, if we could encapsulate the whole of the lo-fi scene within those 2 weeks, it was fucking dead. Like, nobody was getting listened to, really. Like, no new releases were getting placed on editorial. They weren't, within those first 2 weeks, getting hardly any plays. Like, they were getting kind of standard amount of plays that a small independent artist would get, which was 100 to 1,000 plays. Oops, excuse me. And
Welcome.
that was just such a wild time. And you could kind of tell that there was almost like a panic in amongst not only like the producer scene, but also like the label scene as well, in that you know
I will.
these labels that relied on editorial.
I will say. I will say the following exactly. Like, it's if anything, that glitch in the matrix showed us the real cojones of people, basically. So whether you're like a producer or a label who is dependent 100% on editorial support, and get your new music out there and get it to start get listeners on it immediately just because you're an editorial, or whether you are organically followed by actual people and not machines or passive listeners who actually receive your releases in the release radar. They get you They get your music on their daily mixes and all that good stuff, goody stuff. But that was the takeaway for me when it came to that, which is, of course, very sad if you think about it. It's like what the fuck are you doing? Like if your only way to push your music is a fucking editorial playlist, then I mean, on the good side, or let's say on the flip side of the delayed update of the editorials, that meant that a bunch of tracks stayed on these lists for a little longer period of time. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
and in the same positions as well, because there's usually, I mean, I had it like, probably you had it as well. Like you might land, let's say, on a higher position, like let's say within the first 100, which is like great for streaming and whatnot, especially on the major playlists. But then after a week or two, depending on how many dicks you suck or whatever, you might start falling or like stay in the same spot. So for the people who stayed in the first top 100, that was like great. I mean, it was great for everybody at the end of the day. So, but it definitely, I mean, now that we both noticed, like last week, I think the update cycle changed. It's not Friday anymore. It's Wednesday, I think, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's interesting. I'm just sitting here, trying to eat popcorn, waiting for people to lose their shit. Like, oh, when am I gonna fucking release my music now? Oh, is it gonna be? Everybody's gonna start. If I swear, I fucking swear, if people start telling me like, oh, put it on a Wednesday, I'm just like, fucking eat a dick, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
they'll want to be dropping music on. We'll start to see a lot more sort of like weekend and midweek updates. Releasing.
That will
people
be
releasing on fucking Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and then Thursday. But there's also a part of me, right? If you actually genuinely think about this, right? We've already discussed that Spotify, or not Spotify, just DSPs alone are seeing 100,000 new releases a day.
Oh fuck yeah!
And it's most likely a large percentage of that from what we've seen within the scene, labels dropping 10 to 15 tracks a week.
Yeah.
But there's a good, maybe of that 100,000 a day, maybe 5 to 10% of it is lo-fi releases.
Exactly.
What's a better way to unclog New Music Friday, which is a traditional, since the beginning of like music being tracked, a traditional day to release music?
Yeah.
What's the chances that Spotify are like, right, we need to like separate a lot of this music, so we're seeing a shit ton of instrumental chill mood music being released on Friday alongside some of our shareholders major label releases, and it's clogging everything. It's becoming stagnated. So they're thinking, okay, so if we start to update our editorials on a Wednesday, we'll start seeing more artists releasing that type of music Mondays to Wednesdays to get ahead of time. And I think that might even be a really sneaky way that Spotify is trying to have some influence on how this, at least the music that's released in our scene, is getting released. So rather than, again, it being all dropped on a Friday and them having to sift through everything to, appease their shareholders, but also appease their, I guess, smaller label friends as well as independents, they're now separating, putting us in a separate queue, essentially. And I'd never actually thought of that until you mentioned that everyone's going to start running to releasing on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, that would be super fun.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
I think what this has highlighted is the sheer dependence that a lot of artists have on Spotify editorial, especially within the lo-fi scene. And I actually think it's quite a sad in two ways. Kind of like sad because it's like, are you really going to amount to anything if you're just relying on what is essentially either the nepotism of lo-fi labels and having those connections at Spotify, and also, making music that fits these labels? And sad in a sense that, are you ever going to really push yourself anymore as an artist to do something more than just rely on that type of thing? We've spoken about artists doing things to try and to kind of break away from this reliance on this thing, but this just proved more than ever that this scene is very much kind of dependent on, you know, Spotify's milk than actually going out into the world and being like, hey, I make music. But then this is kind of supported by the fact that we have, you know, I saw a tweet from an artist which I shared with you not too long ago, where they were basically saying that never has there been a scene where, you know, you can have such a high amount of success but having complete anonymity. And I think in a way that's really fucking sad as well, because what do you aspire to be as a producer of music if all you're doing, if you're happy to sit there and see the same success as, you know, like major artists or even independent artists that get like big breaks on like TikTok and stuff. Like, what do you amount to be as a producer of music that you're happy to kind of just sit behind, you know, a blinded window to put music out there that gets millions and millions of listeners and nobody knows who you are? Like, I know, I get that this isn't necessarily the scene that any of us are going to sit here and become the next like Harry Styles, but the idea of being able to develop yourself as a musician, as a producer, as a creator of music, to then maybe, you know, work with bigger artists to make music, you know, to have production credits on, you know, like some of the artists that you admire, like there's a guy called Kashmir Brown. He creates like some sample packs, and he's very much just a, you know, a producer, and he got credits on Kanye West's last album, and that was like his big thing. I mean, at the end of the day, I could say to you, oh, Kashmir Brown's dropped a new track. You probably have no idea who he is, but the fact is he's not kind of happy to be unknown but raking in money. He's, you know, he's being unknown but as a producer for bigger artists, so he's making his money that way instead of kind of just sitting there and accepting the fact that all I do is make lo-fi beats, nobody knows who I am, but I'm okay with that. And I think it's good to say that that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you're happy to just be a cog in the lo-fi machine, then that's fine if that's the way you want to be. But I don't know, I just think it's a really weird position to be in, to say that, like, to almost be happy that nobody knows who you are, because for me that just looks like that you're kind of only into it for the money. If you're happy to just never be known but get millions of plays, why are you doing it? Like, why are you doing this for not even just a little bit of recognition?
It's very nice that you put it on. You put out the polite way of critiquing or mentioning, giving your 2 cents about the about this tweet. Like, when I first read it, and you remember my reaction is basically very simple. Is that you're a bozo, and the only thing that matters to you is just money. Because if you're going out there saying that, oh my God, editorials and whatnot, like, help me and other people to in our music to reach millions, and we don't necessarily have to be like celebrities or like recognized or whatnot, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've heard in a while. And I've been in this fucking scene for a while. So this, like, it's like, it never seems to surprise me. The level of dumbness, it's just like keeps increasing and increasing. Like, I don't, you know, as always, I don't give 2 shits. But the whole sentence, like the whole tweet did not make any sense for me. Like, what is it, bro? Like, are you happy? Like, if you're happy that your music is reaching out millions, which is not really millions, and at the same time, nobody fucking even knows who you are. Because we're not talking about, you're not going to be like you said, basically, you never, whether we like it or not, with this type of music, even though there is a possibility, it's very slim that you will become the Harry Styles of lo-fi. Or Michael Jackson of lo-fi or whatever, because I know there's people who have problems replacing Michael Jackson with Harry Styles as the king of whatever. Anyway.
I was just picking someone that was popular right now.
Yeah, I know. For me, it's always like MJ is always like the king of the king. I'm touching my balls right now. You don't see it, but
Yeah,
anyway.
I figured.
Anyway, so it's like it doesn't really make sense. Like, and of course, when statements like these, when statements like these come from people who have been releasing with one of the most, let's just say, prolific label of our time, which is like YouTube sensation turn label turn master of lo-fi chill out beats, study beats, whatnot, cowgirl, you're a bozo. I'm gonna put it as simple as that. Like if I'm really done explaining shit. Like if nobody understands the correlation of having a track in a super huge playlist that will get streams regardless of whatever, just go on these people's profiles. And we said this in the past as well. Like every time you see one of these like cowgirl releases, all the producers who released with Lo-Fi Girl, like even me, but I've never done this, celebrating, because we put everything under this umbrella of celebration now, the millions of streams and the millions of listeners and the millions. Go on the profiles on Spotify, because Spotify is the one that has numbers, and just go through their independent releases. See how many numbers they stack there. Because that's when you're going to see, whether you like it or not, your actual value of what you actually bring in the table, something that you will release independently, or let me just say this, or even with a smaller label. And I'm not saying like a label that also writes a dick with Spotify, just an independent label like yours, or even like mine, because I don't write any dicks. I do get several tracks like every now and then featured on playlists, but maybe it's because I've done it for a while, or maybe it's because I was, busting people's balls on LinkedIn or whatever. I was like, digging for the stuff. But, chances are like if you go on Chartmetric or whatever, now you will see like, I don't know, Pueblo Vista has like 2 features on lo-fi beats. KiwiBear has 0. Like some other German labels, some other German labels have like 20, 30, 40, 50, like it's been like, and it's been really like that has been the motive as of late. Again, like we switch back to our German brothers to curate the whole of instrumental hip hop. Like the whole instrumental world is curated by a couple of fucking white Germans. Which is, it's amazing. It's amazing to say the least. So anyway, that's basically my rant. I think like on one hand, like I felt like saying something, but then on the other hand, I'm like, it's not even worth, engaging in statements like that, or like providing some sort of like, because if you engage with tweets like these, I think at the end of the day, it's like acknowledging something. And I don't want to acknowledge that. Like, of course, you might even say like, oh, you're mentioning it in the podcast, so you are acknowledging anyway. No, it's a different kind of thing. Like, I'm just going to rant out like it's, it's the news of the week or the last month, and we're just like basically critiquing them. But right then and there, I won't even bother. But it's like, I'm like, why are people, instead of like, whatever happened to the whole fucking, I don't know, stay humble, or like a humble brag or something? Or
I suppose this could be considered that, though. Like they're humble in the fact that, they're not reaching levels of fame because they're getting millions of streams. Like, again, it's just a really depressing outlook on what is considered successful within the lo-fi beat scene, and that I kind of find really disappointing. And again, no disrespect if that's what you're like super happy with. If you're happy to sit there and rake in hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, millions of streams a month,
that's great,
and
have
zero, have absolutely zero, I guess,
impact
support, impact on the world, other than that kind of that's fine. But for me, as an artist and as a musician, like, I'm at least trying to put myself out there in a way that is unique and different, even if I'm not getting millions of streams. and it's I don't know. It's just, I think, a bit of a strange hill to kind of die on. But I mean, to kind of bring it back round to where
We've
you know
died
this
in we've
topic,
died in so many
yeah,
hills these past few
yeah, where this
years.
kind of topic started from. Like the simple fact that the lo-fi editorial space has been
Yeah,
completely shaken up
yeah,
is, I don't know whether it's a kind of worrying outlook as to what maybe we're to expect in the future, especially as Spotify seems to, as a company, be moving more towards more engaging experiences, I guess. Because so
mm,
if we go to what they just announced with the Spotify DJ, it is essentially an AI driven radio station.
yeah.
So
That
you just click on it and it will start playing music, but also in between those music, there is an AI generated voice, which sounds very human with a lot of responses that is very much tailored to you as a person that listens to whatever music you listen to. So it would be like, up next is a track that you couldn't get enough of last year, but haven't listened to so much this year, and then it'll introduce the track and it'll play it.
yeah,
That is, to me, telling me that Spotify is looking for engagement in a sense of like back in the day where we used to go and choose a record. We'd look for a CD to play. We wouldn't just kind of click shuffle on a playlist. And maybe they're moving away from this dependency for playlists because they're maybe getting a bit outlived. I mean, we both know that Spotify in the past year or so have gone absolutely hell for leather on like chill hop, lo-fi, chill beats playlists. Like, the list that I have, I think, has over 35 different playlists, all around lo-fi. Like, you got lo-fi piano now, lo-fi baby, lo-fi beats, obviously. Like they did the meditation lo-fi and sleep lo-fi. They've got different lo-fi for different like regions as well. There's a lot of like Brazilian lo-fi and like
yeah,
Spanish like lo-fi Mexico and stuff like that.
yeah.
And
It's localized music.
I think what they have maybe got themselves into is trying to really encapsulate all of this music so that they can push it out and get more, and as we know, a lot of it's filled with fake artists. That
Yeah,
maybe that method isn't necessarily working for them anymore. Now they're moving towards this kind of AI driven engagement that I think is going to start seeing a real lack of dependency on editorial and more of a focus on like genuine music engagement on the platform. And I think that in itself is quite interesting, and we'll see how all of this goes over the next couple of months, especially when they roll out Spotify's DJ thing.
don't you think like it's also going to become some sort of like a marketing tool as well for bigger artists? Like the same. I don't want to bring up Charlie Puth example again. Like you might be listening to your recommended music and whatnot, and while you
Yeah,
sit there and you listen, there's like, oh, here's something like that's maybe potentially remotely connected to the stuff that you listen to. Charlie
yeah,
Puth,
yeah.
or the latest album from Harry Styles. And you're like sitting there, I don't know, listening to some fucking 70s psychedelic rock, and it's like,
Yeah.
what? Like Charlie Puth and his perfect what is it? His perfect like key tuning, but whatever the
Yeah,
fuck he
his,
does.
what's it called? Perfect pitch.
Perfect pitch. It's like it's like what's happening? So I think I just hope like because every time these motherfuckers like are launching like a new feature, it predominantly benefits major
Yeah,
labels and
always.
major label artists. So I wouldn't like hold my breath. Like I wouldn't expect like somebody to be like, look, the AI DJ introducing Pueblo Vista or Lazy Boy Loops to anybody, even though that would have been like a cool occasion, you know. But I don't know. I just hope it works. But again, it's like the whole to what you were saying earlier, like like playlisting and getting into playlists, and I didn't want to interrupt you in the beginning. It's like I hate it, and we said it like 1,000 times. Like from one hand, Everybody's complaining like, oh my God, there's like 100,000 releases a day.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so bad, so whatever. Meanwhile, you have like every fucking lo-fi label out there, like it's pumping up singles and singles and singles, like adding to the whole thingy. And it's the same people who also kind of like complain about it. And we've seen stories from, oh, 100,000, oh my God, this is so bad for the scene. Like, dude, you're doing it yourself. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention, like, again, for the nth time, like fucking compilations with 30 tracks coming out as singles, even though we did see some sort of like, people are, I don't know, maybe they educated themselves or whatever. They don't pump out like all 30 tracks as singles. They pump out 20 or maybe like 10 or something, which is better than nothing. But then again, like every day fucking releasing. And then you being the artist, I mean, don't get me wrong, like there's a bunch of guys, like for example, I'm using a really interesting example that you're familiar with, our friend Dipshit. Like the guy is like a fucking machine. Like he's like a supermarket, right? But I'm gonna say this: there have been supermarket type producers. We know a bunch, and they would just chunk out beat after beat after beat, like. But it would just sound very, I would say, average. It's more like a whip than anything else. And for me, like Dipshit, I love the guy and the stuff that he puts out. Like even like he puts out a lot. But it's really good quality. Like there's variation. Like there will be he's like, his vibe is like, I don't know, like this week he must be, I mean, he's been on a I don't know, 2016 SoundCloud lo-fi thing for the past 2-3 weeks now. Before that, there's like some more ambient shit, or there was like some housey stuff that he did. Like he's like a good supermarket. Like you would see like new products, I guess. It's not like the same shit.
Like Marks and Spencer's. And
it's not exactly like he's more like a clothing store rather than a supermarket. It's like this. It's not the same shit over and over again. But it's like it's good. But at the same time, it fascinates me. Like if the person who will be caught up into this, I need to release a piece of content every other week, and I need to ride the dick of all the labels that get placements on playlists. I'm sorry, but that's the kind of person that I won't fuck with that. I won't fuck with that, because it's like you're doing that kind of shit just for the cash. And if you want to, but the funny thing is, which is like, say, you do you, whatever. You want to fucking milk it. However, my dude, this is not scalable. And we saw it now with the whole, the coinciding 88% of Spotify being laid off, of the staff being laid off, and the playlist not updating for a couple of weeks. Like you cannot, and a lot of people say this, do not depend on other fucking platforms for your fucking content, for your fucking living, because there's people who make their living with this shit. There's other ways you can make money in this fucking business, in the music business. You can, like you said, you can produce shit for hip hop artists. You can whatever. You can even ghost beats if you want to. You can sell your beats as well. You can do licensing. You can do syncing. You can go publishing. You can do neighboring rights. There's like so many other ways that you can monetary, exploit what you are doing as a business, instead of just fucking squeezing all the creativity out of your brain and fucking producing shit day after day and be dependent on some fucking random label who sucks somebody's ass and they get placements, or like a fucking editorial playlist. And I say this like with all the good heart that I can say it, like coming from a guy who never really had a background on hip hop, let alone instrumental stuff. And I started that fucking shit 6 years ago. It took me a few years to actually say I feel confident enough to release my own shit. And I've put out fucking 4 fucking albums that had like over 20 tracks each. Like, which one of your motherfuckers have done that? Like, even all this, the cowgirl people, like all these lo-fi producers there, like the whatever. They would just pump out an album and it's good for a year. Of course, now there's a quota in Lo-Fi Girl, so you cannot just like, put out albums every day. But but then again, it's like I've put out like albums and I got fucked. What happened?
Yeah.
Like my camera just disappeared. That's
Is it
great.
back?
No. It just died. I don't care. Whatever. I'm still here, so this is the video is gonna cut off eventually.
God damn
in the
it.
live. I don't
What's
know why.
happened?
I really don't know why. Maybe it's like, whatever. Anyway, ruined my rant. But these are my 2 cents. These are my two
Yeah.
cents.
No, I mean, just going like, there's a specific artist like right now that I'm just kind of looking at their stuff. They sit on 2 million monthly listeners because they drop with Cowgirl a lot, and they recently dropped a single on a compilation with a new label, and for someone that is pulling in 2 million monthly listeners to only be getting now, so this released at the start of February, so 20 days ago.
Yeah.
It's only got 23,000 plays.
I'm back. Let's go.
You're telling me that those fucking 2 million streams are like it's just really disappointing that we have this or not we, I suppose we as a collective, for the most part as a collective genre, that we have such a reliance on huge labels or editorial, that nobody is building up themselves as a producer or as an artist that's really kind of showing themselves to be as who they are. And that's like super disappointing, especially when we have people like that tweet saying that they're happy, they're sitting there all proud that they're getting millions of streams, no fame. And I just think that's so fucking dumb. And it just the past those 2 weeks when editorial, I think it's from the 20th to the 17th, that there was no Lo-Fi Beats update or anything, and just seeing a lot of these new releases from artists that would normally be getting hundreds of thousands of streams from editorial playlists getting nothing, just kind of proved to me that even those artists that are sitting there with millions of streams, when they drop themselves, aren't worth shit.
Exactly.
Not to even sound like cunty about it, like if it wasn't for editorial playlists, a lot of these artists wouldn't get anything. And for a full fact that a lot of them probably just would never do it. Like if Spotify, for some weird, really bizarre reason, because again, as we've said a number of times, everyone just focuses on fucking Spotify. If Spotify just decided to shut down because they were like, you know what, we're going to move into,
Exactly.
I don't know, logistics. We're going to start fucking transporting fucking bread across the country.
What are you gonna do?
Well, everyone will flock to Apple Music, obviously, but
yeah.
It's this kind of dependency on what is essentially a platform
Yeah.
to hold us up. And this is something that I experienced from the very, very beginning of even producing music, that you will have artists that will sit there and get pissed off at Spotify for not getting any support. So they'll be like, oh, fuck you, Spotify, for not supporting my new independent release. And it's like, yeah, but what have you done
Exactly.
to get Spotify to notice you, or to get Spotify is a platform at the end of the day. Spotify is just a service for people to come and listen to music. They have no obligation to do anything to you or for you. So when you sit there having a fucking moan because Spotify does nothing to support the independent artists, that's support yourself. Because as we've seen from the 20th to the 17th, 20th of January to the 17th of February, when there's no Lo-Fi Beats update, the Lo-Fi scene just runs around with fucking fire because there's nothing happening. And that's just a real fucking shame. But
which was funny because it's like I didn't really see any drops in my streams. You know what I mean? Because there is like all this hard work that's been put in to make myself and the label known, to reach out to millions of people without the support, but people being able to now recognize a fucking name or even a face. Because I mean, and this is what I've been telling you like a lot, that ever since I started this fucking thing with the label. I've always been like in all my communications, emails, chats, DMs, all that kind of shit. I was like, blah, 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 cheers, Paul. Like everybody,
Yeah.
from the very beginning knew that it's some dude, some Greek guy called Paul behind this fucking thing. And it wasn't like, blah, 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 cheers, XYZ Records. Or cheers, Lo-Fi, insert animal name, something recordings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that's why, to connect it with what we said like earlier, that's why I thought like a statement like that is dumb and you're being a bozo. Like, how are you going to benefit if you don't, quote unquote, become a celebrity on what you're doing? Like if you don't, quote unquote, become famous. Like if this is your living, if you make your living out of that, because we see a bunch of people that were like, before COVID, like, quit your jobs. That they would say stuff like that. Like, of course I want people to know me. If I make my living through that, I want people to know me because this is something that is scalable and I can scale it. Means like if more people know me, the more they will listen to my shit, the more they can recommend me to other people, to friends. It's what the fuck. Like it makes perfect sense. But yeah, I guess I'm a dumb fuck. So yeah, I don't know. Shit for shit.
No, I think it's just it's a weird area that we're in at the minute, and I've always been very familiar with the fact that there is a level of anonymity that a lot of artists are happy to kind of sit behind, especially when it comes to I guess us as a label. We create agreements for each artist, and when we're saying, hey, for this agreement to actually have some sort of validity, we need to have your legal name and address. And the amount of pushback that I've kind of had on this, especially from artists that are very much hiding behind a pseudonym or hiding behind like an avatar. It's like, do you know what, that's fine that you want to hide behind that, but when it comes to this thing that we are working on together, I want to be able to know that if we fuck up in any way, because this is the thing with the agreement that we put together, we want it to be a sort of a thing that says, this is what we're going to do with your music. And if at some point you come along and say, you didn't do this, or you're doing this and I don't agree with that, and you never said that this is what you were going to do in this agreement, at the end of the day, if you don't put your legal name and address, we can just be like, so what?
Exactly.
So it's equal parts like protection for both us as a label and you as an artist. And again, if you want to hide behind this anonymity and not have any of those kind of like legal protections if things go wrong,
because you're afraid the fucking local tax agency in your country is going to look after
exactly.
look you up.
Yeah.
I mean, you do you. So
yeah, but hold on, I've got to let my cat in, as always.
Let him in.
Never without an animal situation.
Well, you're a lo-fi dad of animals. I'm a lo-fi dad of Gwen.
There we go. Right.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing you open the door for him and then he just runs away.
Yeah. No, as I said, your Drawbits earlier said that we are his favorite lo-fi dads. You're a lo-fi dad of animals. I'm a lo-fi dad of
I
little
suppose
girl.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, though speaking of cats, this kind of segues nice into the next topic we wanted to talk about, which is something that has been mentioned to me a fair bit, actually, more than I like to actually care about. And there's a specific artist that recently has seen success.
There was a resurgence.
Yes. So basically, there's an artist that has a playlist, and that playlist all of a sudden started getting really, really fucking popular.
Yeah.
Like really, really popular. And I've had a couple of people message just being like, oh, have you seen that this playlist has got big? Like, because, this artist may or may not have been related to bot or suspect activity in the past. Unfortunately, though,
Yeah.
that's not the case this time, and I will definitely, say that admit that it isn't as nefarious as it seems. So basically, I mean, I've mentioned this person in the past that we have history. Chilled Cat has a medieval lo-fi playlist, which, to kind of give it some history, it is a playlist that's based off of another playlist anyway. And basically, so his medieval lo-fi playlist started getting a shit ton of new followers and subsequently a shit ton of new plays because someone made a TikTok video about it, basically talking about niche playlists and how. So this again, it kind of follows on from someone. So someone made a TikTok, right, that was like, I put on this playlist because it makes me feel like I'm like when I'm doing chores, because it makes me feel like I'm going around the house and cleaning up an old tavern. And they highlighted a playlist and it was like a medieval lo-fi playlist. Someone then stitched or tagged that creator in their own TikTok, which then basically was her saying, whoever made this playlist, is a genius because I listen to it while I'm doing chores, and it transports me to this new world that makes me feel like I'm a little elf cleaning up a tavern. Blah blah blah. The playlist was Chilled Cat's lo-fi, fucking medieval lo-fi playlist,
Yeah.
and as with most viral TikToks, it's seen a boom. The playlist itself has got big, and he's come out from the fucking woodwork and has started
Releasing again, right?
releasing again.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to talk about it was mostly around the idea that I guess that outside of the box thinking. That's kind of the really thing that I wanted to talk about. This was that kind of outside of the box thinking, and that I feel like as a community we're always very much going towards the safe option. So we've got the lo-fi beats to sleep to. We've got the lo-fi study music. When you talk about lo-fi, it is lo-fi study, lo-fi sleep. So this to me just kind of shows that even though you're maybe taking a bit of a shot in the dark, and I'm talking not about Chill Cat's playlist here, I'm now talking about the actual original one, which does genuinely have medieval sounding lo-fi on it. Unfortunately, the one that's run by Chill Cat has now just been filled with just generic fucking lo-fi boringness. But that original one that is using, because there's maybe 2 or 3 artists that create very, like, I guess medieval sounding versions of popular music as well, but lo-fi. It's a very, very unique.
It is. It sounds like it.
That they found, and it works for them, and it works for the creator of that original playlist as well. That you can press play and it just sounds like you're listening to Watermelon Sugar by Harry. I'm loving Harry Styles today by Harry Styles. That's being played on like fucking lutes and like just weird old medieval instrument like flutes and shit. It's actually really impressive what a couple of these artists have put all of their like commitment into, and in turn creating this playlist that has that specific sound. In a sense, has blown up because there are people that are interested in weird niche like shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is something that we as artists need to maybe start thinking about doing. Like, it's easy enough to play with the safe option. We've spoken enough like a few minutes ago about all of these labels that people are kind of bending over backwards to appease so that they get on these editorial playlists, or that get on these big label owned playlists. But like kind of stepping out of this box of lo-fi sleep, lo-fi chill beats for study, work, sleep, relax, whatever the fuck, and creating something that's incredibly like interesting and niche. It's proven that it has some sort of like validity and almost appeal that doesn't necessarily happen with just like your basic lo-fi stuff. I mean, did you actually check out that TikTok that I sent to you last week, which was a girl that was highlighting the fact that you can now, so within the spot again, and this is super interesting, going back to what Spotify kind of do in the future, you can now tap on like playlists and stuff and go into the menu, and you can press to not include things in your taste profile.
Oh,
not
yeah.
your main artist profile, but your main like user profile, but your actual taste profile.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you listen
yeah.
to a playlist, it's not going to have a huge effect on your release radar. I found this TikTok absolutely fucking hilarious because it was someone saying that there's this new feature, you can unfollow it from your taste profile, and she was like, I listen to this, I can't get to sleep without listening to this, and it was fucking Lo-Fi Girls playlist. And she was like, you can tap to not include it in your taste profile, so in your release radars and daily mixes it's not just fucking lo-fi. And like, you know, there are people that
Oh god.
it's just super. I kind of lost my trail of thought, but like, I wanted to kind of just kind of discuss that outside of the box thinking can really just, it can, and it has been proven to be super beneficial. Maybe not necessarily in an instant, and I think that's the main blocker that's stopping a lot of artists from experimenting with different sounds, that they hit that wall of, well, if it's not going to give me instant gratification, then I'm not going to do it. But you know, this has proven that it was a sleeping like thing that eventually blew up, and you know,
I think
maybe we should go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting. Like when you brought this story to me, I mean, we knew from the get go how this was gonna end. You know that it's gonna get a little bit of like a temporary traction, and then people are gonna realize that there are not actually any medieval sounding tracks in there. So yeah, and I think this was like, again, using public data. Stuff you can find on Certmetric or even Spotify for Artists when you compare artists with one another. You can see like there was like a very steady, let's say, decline. I would guess based on the fact that people were figuring out like, oh, there's not as many medieval stuff here as this, because like you said, it's like a very niche.
Well, that's like, people are coming to this playlist for a specific sound.
Exactly. Yeah. It was very specific, which again showcases another the other thing that for me was showcased is that great, you know, the SEO worked, because we know there's like a bunch of people who, I mean, the similarly to the amount of tracks being released every week on streaming platforms, is the fact that playlisting has been oversaturated. Like there's like playlists on playlists on playlists upon playlists. Like we used to make a joke a couple of years ago about your playlist, the lo-fi beats to eat cake to, huh? And so I think like 2 years down the line, some people like, you know, as if they acted on a joke or something like that. That there would be like a lo-fi for everything. I mean, we used to joke about Universal, for example, adding the word lo-fi on absolutely fucking everything, like lo-fi for kids, lo-fi for this, lo-fi for snuggling in the sofa, lo-fi for watching Netflix, lo-fi for like putting the dishes, like whatever the fuck, you know, just listen, make sure you listen to lo-fi. We also know that other people are kind of like doing that in an attempt to like think outside the box. But yeah, that's also like a little bit stupid. In any case, it worked, because a fucking playlist that you did back then, I don't know, like a couple of years ago, and nobody gave a fuck to, and you stuffed it with nothing that had to do with the title of the playlist. Like I have like two main playlists. Mm-hmm. One is called like chill beats something something, and the other one's like lo-fi vibes. And the way that the songs are curated using smart playlists is basically on the energy of the track. Like the chill beats are by default more jazzy, more up tempo, more whatever. So I would just collect tracks from multiple playlists that I follow, also editorials, and even our releases, and I will like structure them like that. I won't be like blindly put the latest released on the top, because I would like to keep some sort of fucking relevance to the fucking curation that I'm doing. You know, so somebody like coming to listening to some more like a chill beat and expects like a more of a jazzy up tempo vibe, and the first thing they listen to is like a fucking sleepy lo-fi shit. It's like, oh fuck it, I'm leaving. Like they're not even going to follow you.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. But I think what I'm trying to say is like what it boils down to, you know, playlisting, releasing, what we mentioned earlier, like whatever, not dick riding, not going for labels who have like, it's your fucking integrity. It's, for me, this is what it's all burns down to. It's fucking integrity at the end of the day. Like you can call it like, oh, it's the classic indie guy who is not, he's giving shit to the majors and to all the guys who are like successful because like he cannot do it and blah blah blah. No, dude, it's like I'm not gonna sell out. And we said this like 1,000 times, like not through the podcast, also like also to people like outside, like, you know, giving like you know, since we're the lo-fi dads, we try to pass out some knowledge as well. So it's like, I cannot recall the amount of times that I said to people that don't make music for specific playlists. Don't try to fit the sound of a fucking label. Like, listen to the music that the label puts out. You know, you submit something to them because you think it fits for whatever reason. The label comes back to you and is like, oh, you need to change this, change that. No, fuck you. That's my sound. The moment you start like bending your creative truth, it's the moment you become a fucking whore. As simple as that. Like, I mean, yeah, I don't even want to argue and say, oh yeah, I really need the money, whatever. Okay, if you need the money, fuck off. Like, you're not even part of the discussion. That's it. Just don't want to fucking, see people, out there with fucking plaques, flexing numbers, like all that kind of shit. Like, you got like 1 million streams on Spotify. Whoop-de-doo-da, man. Like, whatever the fuck. It doesn't even mean anything. It's like the same level of fucking, oh, I'm verified on Instagram. So what?
Yeah.
So what? Especially now, and I'm using that as a transition to our next subject, when every fucking social platform out there, you can just fucking pay and get verified.
Yep.
So what? Like, what is this fucking thing coming to? Like, you call yourself a fucking musician, and then all of a sudden you can pay for verification. You can like write a specific dick to get numbers. You can do this. You can do that. Like, where's your fucking integrity, bro?
Yeah.
Like,
but I think with the paid verification thing, it's now bringing that whole verification badge thing back down to the fucking reality that it was to begin with, which was to verify, well, not necessarily Twitter, but the meta verification is now bringing it back down to what it was, which was to verify that the person that runs this account is actually that person. So like Kim Kardashian, for example, she's verified because that's actually Kim Kardashian, not someone that's done Kim Kardashian 0. And
it's not fucking LAZYBOYLOOPS and fucking Pueblo Vista.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, because that's the thing. And this is when fucking the whole lo-fi scene started wanking off over Dashko giving everyone a fucking verification badge.
Guilty as charged.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But,
no hiding.
what I noticed around that time as well was because it was very difficult. It was easier for single producers to get the verification badge, but it was more difficult for labels to get the verification badge. And what did I begin noticing? Oh, labels all of a sudden started getting a lot of fake profiles being made on Instagram. Oh no, please report this fake profile that isn't me, that isn't the label account. They're pretending to be the label account. Please stop and report them. And then, oh, lo and behold, the next week they were fucking verified on Instagram because guess what? You were behind those fake fucking profiles because then you had a leg to stand on when you went to Dashko with your tail between your legs being I need to be verified because there are all of these fake accounts. And this is me being like a completely ranty little cunt. Yeah. Because I saw it exactly like clockwork. There were two very specific labels that aren't big. They're not fucking lo-fi girl.
No.
They're not even Hypnoza or even, I guess, lo-fi jazz at this point because they're pretty well known. Like these were kind of smallish fucking labels that had barely been around for a year.
Yeah.
That were all of a sudden getting 3 to 4 fake accounts made about them, and then up the next minute they were verified because these fake accounts. And guess what? Those fake accounts never resurfaced.
Yeah.
Nobody continued to make fake accounts because guess what? You all got what you want and you all got your fucking verification tick. But
Yeah.
hey, it's fucking useless now because Meta's coming along and saying for just £15 a month you can be verified and get extended reach. And what is the fucking point?
Exactly.
I have
Exactly.
this absolutely brilliant fucking extension for Twitter,
Yeah.
in that it pulls the verification badge, and those that are actually like legacy verified as they're being called now, it changes the verification badge on my Twitter to say actually verified.
Okay.
And then for those that have paid for Twitter Blue, it now shows a really crudely hand drawn fucking verification,
Yeah.
and next to it says paid for
Oh
verification.
God.
And I find it unsurprising but very unfortunate when I scroll down my Twitter feed on the desktop because that's where the extension's installed,
Yeah.
and just see the amount of fucking lo-fi or adjacent artists that now have a jankily crudely drawn paid for verification thing next to
Yes.
them. Because I'm very much from that classic age of seeing that verification tick and being like, oh shit, actually
It's good. Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're getting recognized because Twitter was notoriously difficult to get a verification badge. You had to be you had to have articles from very specific publications that Twitter that
Approved.
Twitter
Yeah.
specified, yeah, Twitter approved, and now you just pay. And
Yeah.
for a second, I'm like, oh shit, that this person's got a verification, and then I see that it says paid for verification next to it, and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
disappointing.
Yeah. No, it's a we live in very interesting times, but it's
Yeah,
like I think now it's a good time that a lot of people need to just, step back a little bit, like dean down, just slow down, as we said like 1,000 times, especially when it comes to this. Like I mean, I think I'm still surprised how this scene keeps on going, because it has
yeah,
nothing to do with anything. Like it's not as it started. The community, like, it used to be a lot more wholesome. Now you find pockets of wholesomeness,
yeah,
because everybody is all about getting on that editorial, riding that dick, go to this label and that label because it's guaranteed they will get their fucking editorial playlists. I mean, I don't know what's guaranteed since last week, but nothing much like really changed. But at the end of the day, it's like, I find it like it could be very disheartening for somebody who starts now. It could be also very it can freak you out, makes you like completely very anxious about shit. Because it's like, you're starting out, you want to start making music or whatever. Of course, like everything else on this planet, technology evolves. We evolve with it as humans. But I don't want to be that guy that says, like, maybe I'm becoming that guy that says, oh, they don't make them like they used to, like, and refer to the music and all that stuff, like how it was back in the day before Spotify, before YouTube. Like, there was the only way, at least for me, starting with dance music to, release music and go with the label and get a track on Bitport of all services.
yeah,
There had to be some sort of a label, because it was like, nobody knew how this works. And then DistroKid showed up and demystified everything.
yeah.
But then again, if you, I just find it like very sad. like it came down to this, and not just for lo-fi. I think this definitely affects other genres as well. I mean, we saw it lately. What we saw lately is like jungle, as it's called in the UK, or drum and bass, like, you know, resurfacing again, coming up, becoming like a little bit more popular, maybe with the younger generation. I don't know, whatever. I mean, fun fact, I learned how to DJ with drum and bass because it's like, it's one of the most difficult styles to learn. And then if you learn how to DJ with drum and bass, house music is like, you know, you go for a lick, you go take a piss and you just mix the record. That's it. It's so easy. Anyway, and it was like, and who's involved with that? Fucking Strange Fruits. like there's like fucking random drum and bass remixes popping up again, like out of the blue, and it's like the drum and bass Fruits, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, didn't you just, it's a dead horse, like, fucking stop poking it, like, let the fucking thing be. But it's like, I think there's so much back channeling. There's so much fucking money changing hands. Like, maybe I'm becoming like the fucking Jim Jones of lo-fi music now, you know, wear my fucking tinfoil hat and all that kind of shit. But it is happening. You know, we've seen it a lot. There's like, even with Spotify, that it's a hard fact. Like, the money that we receive as artists, even if you say you release a solo thing, like, the money you're getting is only 30% of what's been generated as a gross income, and the rest of the 70% they keep. So imagine, I mean, I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole of like 1 cent per stream. It's like, no. But man, it's just like,
well, even if it was that kind of the thing that I think, isn't it SoundCloud a trial in, or the SoundCloud do, which is that, you know, you get paid for the streams that you make based on the subscriptions that people have. Like, that's fine and all, but I think that maybe, I don't know, I just feel like, especially on Spotify, even within this small kind of niche scene, if it turned into that kind of, you know, pay as you play like payment system, I can't help but think that artists will just start streaming their own music 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
but then I'm thinking, like, in the short term, they're essentially then just giving themselves their $9.99 back. So all they'll be doing is getting Spotify for free. So
I mean, we did kind of like see that there was like a point, I think, I don't know, if I remember correctly, like there was some sort of like an announcement on Twitch like a couple of years ago, and then immediately you start seeing like lo-fi live streams on Twitch. You know, people did it, of course. You know, it is what it is. But it's like, again, you know, it brings us to the whole monetary thing. It's like, there are ways, if you really want to make money out of music, there are ways you can do it. It's and there, you know, it's as easy, you can figure this stuff out as easy as, like, you know, if you're sitting in front of your screen, like trying to make a beat, spend a couple of more hours trying to do some research. Maybe not on Google, maybe try some other browser or some other search engine, like fucking, I don't know, DuckDuckGo, because it brings different results than Google and you don't have so many sponsored shit there. And figure things out, like how to license your music, to sync it, like sell it, like start emailing. I don't know, what's your favorite game on your fucking mobile phone or your tablet? Like, email the fucking developer. You said, you want to use my lo-fi beats for, but whatever. I mean, I see, like, you know, we're making fun with Taki Brown on the fucking chat now, like, about, you know, fucking lo-fi beats. What is it? Lo-fi beats to get subtly angry about mundane things. And I just said mundane medieval things. Like, you're making it niche as it goes, but it's fucking hell, man. Like, it's but the common denominator, what I've seen with everything is, like, and I will say it again and again, we've been saying it for forever, even before we met, it's like, everybody identified this genre of music as I'm not saying this is correct, but I'm saying what's the common denominator. It's easy to make,
Yep.
and it generates a lot of money.
Yep.
And everybody just jumped on it.
As soon as the pandemic hit and we started to see a lot more of a, I guess, boom in people wanting kind of safe, distraction-free music to listen to.
Yeah.
And lo-fi beats playlists started to get more and more followers, more and more plays. We saw an absolutely huge influx of artists that were coming along to cash in on that. It's that simple. Like, this is such an easy genre to come along and make money.
I can name, which I won't, at least 5, because it's a good number, of, I'm not even going to say like renowned, known producers who their pitch back then, me already being like a 3-year-old label, 2020, I started making beats in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing before that? Nothing. Like, this is what I also said, like, a lot of people had a lot of fucking free time in their hands during the pandemic. I mean, it took me fucking, I don't know, at least I would say 6 years of DJing. Maybe I would say 5, not 6. 5 years of DJing house music before I could actually say I feel comfortable, making that. And I spent another like 10 years making dance music. So when there was this sort of like switch to instrumental hip hop, because I was already quote unquote seasoned in music producing, it's just like I didn't just open up like Ableton. Like I worked with like a multitude of like fucking DAWs. I was a bit more adept. So it took me another 3 years to say, oh, I can make something now that I feel comfortable with, that I'm not fucking, trying to appropriate something or trying to milk something that is, I feel happy with myself to do it. And I won't mind getting like critique on it, whether it's like negative or positive. It's the same for me. So, and all this fucking multi-instrumentalists without like, the good thing was like a lot of these people, are multi-instrumentalists. And they're like, oh, it's easy to make, whatever. Meanwhile, you have like dudes like, and I know I'm gonna mention Taki now because he's in the chat. Like there's multi-instrumentalists and there's multi-instrumentalists, and I don't want to suck his dick or whatever, but it's like, the stuff that he makes, it's like there's like a fucking variety, like the shit.
Yeah.
And then there's this other like group of people who just like playing it safe, and this is like, the key word that I took from your rant previously, what you said, your segment before, playing it safe, like safe.
Yeah.
Let's make the safe beats, like some lush guitars, some like straightforward beats, mindful piano, like whatever. And then they label it with the whole thing. Like nowadays, which we see it like super crazy. And it caught me off by surprise as well, like how the fucking, I don't know, sleepy thing, whatever, the frequencies are set on whatever, and it like helps your brain and fixes this. And I'm like, is there any real substance behind that? Like, what do you think? You're more of a musician than I am. That's why I have to ask you.
That kind of just comes more down to like a scientific study that I don't necessarily understand much myself. So like, and it's more of a debate within, like, I guess, music theory, musician. I'm just trying to get a thing up so I can be a little bit more
specific. Okay.
So yeah, it all comes down to pitch. So the way that the majority of the majority of instruments are tuned is based on hertz. So like, we have like the notes A to G, so A B C D E F G or whatever, and they create the keys, they create whatever. I'm sure Taki will be a lot more clued into this than I am. But each of those letters is determined based on a frequency, like a hertz frequency, and a lot of the majority of classical instruments nowadays are tuned to with A being 430 hertz, which is like a classical pitch. But then there is those that then want to do or consider it more of a perfect pitch being 432 hertz for A. And some say that that is a more sort of closer to the human frequency receptors or some shit. Again, I don't really know. Know the reason why there are people that think it has some sort of health benefits, that when A is tuned to 432, it is a lot more calming to our mental state because it hits a certain thing within our head. Again, I don't know, I can't say 100%, but for the most part, unless you are very specifically trying to achieve something, yeah, it's such a minor tweak to the sound that it doesn't necessarily have. I don't know. I don't personally. I don't care. The only thing I find annoying is when I'm trying to. So I think it is the track. It's either Sweatpants or Boogeyman by Childish Gambino, and that's tuned to A440, and I only find it annoying because then I have to tune my bass to, A432. So then I have to adjust my tuning and my tuning pedal. I have to say that A is 432, and it just has a different sound to it. I don't know. Again, I can't really speak for how much of an effect it has on the human thingy. There are some that believe that it has some sort of scientific benefit to calming things.
Me being a simpleton the simpleton that I am, when it came, like, the only thing I know about that kind of stuff back in the day when I used to DJ stuff, I knew that C minor, or even sometimes major, but predominantly C minor, was the key that is mostly related with grounding you as a human. So it would be better, at least during the DJ sets, the warm-up DJ sets, to play a lot of C minor key songs so that people feel more comfortable, earthed or whatever the fuck. And I mean, based on my experience, because I did that, because I used to DJ, I DJed a lot, especially after my second, third year of DJing, that I got more into the, I wouldn't say music theory, but DJ theory, was I was doing a lot of melodic mixing. So I would mix based on keys. So even if a track was like, I wouldn't say a different genre, like you couldn't have like house music and then mix like hip hop. It would make it's quite obvious. But even if like maybe the tempo was different, or like the and you had to pitch it down, all that stuff. If the key was the same, or if it was like a neighboring key, because keys, that's why you have key clashes. Me being an idiot, again, like I said, I know what keys mix with what keys, and I used to label even all my records with letters on it, like C major, C minor, this and this and that, and I knew. It worked. But when it comes to that stuff, like, I don't know, maybe the fact that I'm so into this whole thing, that when a thing came out, I tried to, experiment a little bit with it and make sure it's like 432 hertz or maybe 431 or something, to see if there's like, if this would have an impact on my brain. I also tried it to my child. I didn't see a difference, to be honest.
I think the difference is so many. I mean, essentially, it's a, like, is it 200ths of hertz or 2 hertz? Yeah, 2 hertz.
2 hertz,
different.
Yeah.
That if you were to listen to an entire composition that is, A equals 432, you're not going to notice it.
Okay.
But then even if you followed it up with a track that's, A 430, I don't think it's not such a drastic difference. But I think there's a lot of holistic thinking around how 432 is more in tune with the humans. I think again it's something to do with just the way that our bodies
Could it also be
vibrate.
like,
I don't
yeah,
fucking
exactly.
know.
I was about to say like the whole vibration thing, like this,
Yeah.
because this discussion reminded me, like I actually am about to finish the fourth season of Westworld. I didn't have a clue that it was like a third season and a fourth season came out. I just dropped it after the second season.
Yeah.
And now the fourth season, they have like it's the hosts control the humans, and they have this sort of like a huge penis dick looking like tower thing that emits like a certain vibration or something and makes you fucking do shit. It feels like very dystopian, and I feel like this is fucking snake oil shit. I don't know. Maybe
I wouldn't necessarily say it's snake oil. I think it's an interesting way of experimenting with music and different tonalities of music. But again, like I said, there's a Childish Gambino song that I like to play on bass, and trying to play it with the track, like from listening to it, and I'm sure the rest of the album maybe it isn't even in the same like frequency tuning, but listening to it, you don't really notice until I pick up my instrument and go to play along with it. Even though when I play along with the bass line outside of the track, it's in tune. It sounds exactly like the track should. When I play it with the track, it's just so very slightly out that I then have to, if I want to play along with it, very much have to tune the entire instrument.
I don't think that the average. Sorry. I just feel like I don't think that the average listener would this will. I don't think that the average listener will be affected by.
I think
by a change on the hertz.
I think the thing that the thing that you're referring to with it being like snake oil, I wouldn't necessarily say snake oil. I just think it's just an interesting marketing thing.
Exactly. Sorry.
It's absolutely just marketing. I don't think they're going to pioneer any sort of thing by doing that. It's just an interesting way of marketing that music. And do you know what? That's fine. That's something that I'm really eager to explore more of anyway, just different ways of marketing music. And if your main selling point is that you create, like, the music that you put out is, a fourth, 3, 4, whatever the fuck, because it's more in tune with the human psyche or whatever, that's cool. That's a really interesting way of marketing that music. And,
exactly.
Good luck to you.
At the end of the day, like, for me, it's like, it's something that it has insufficient data. The data that you have for this right now, even like any research and any papers that's been made out of this, is not tangible at the moment. It's like so fucking fresh that, yeah, you're 100% correct. Like, when I say like the whole snake oil things to me, it translates to like a very interesting marketing approach to market something that's already been so saturated. Like, it feels like there's nothing else to say. So, we found out this, like, it's as if, like, I mean, again, I don't want to diss on anybody's like marketing plan. Good for you. You want to do that. You want to play with that. Like you said, good luck. It's something like super new. I would like I said, I fucked with it personally on the side. I didn't see something. So I don't feel like compelled to apply this to whatever, and even like include it as a marketing thing, because I don't feel it's going to make me stand out. Yeah. So it is what it is. If there's more like data for it, and I've been into the fucking music stuff, like I said, the only thing that I know is like, if you even compose something and have a track and it's like predominantly C minor or in the minors, B minor is also a nice key as well. It's more of like an earthing sound, like it calms you more down. This is the whole thing that I knew. But the whole hertz, I mean, I'm pretty sure somebody.
I've got a real quick rundown about what it is. So, like, the standard tuning that is 440 hertz is the standard preference for tuning musical instruments, and has been that way since like the the fucking 1800s. The reason why we're now focusing on 432 hertz is that it is apparently it contains universal and spiritual healing properties compared to a more aggravating and irritating properties of 440. Apparently, yes, the 432 is more in tune with the human temperament and the way that we perceive and hear sound. So it is considered a more superior and human natural tuning than 440. That's kind of all it is. But again, there's 7 hertz between it, so if
it's like you said, it's an interesting marketing approach.
yeah,
It's an interesting.
that's the only way I
approach.
see it, which is fine. You know, it's not harming anyone. You're not.
It's not for everybody. We have to say that it's not for everybody, but you go with that.
Yeah,
it is what it is. It's funny.
But again, this kind of goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of this particular topic about, you know, doing something unique and outside of the box. That's a fairly unique and or relatively unique thing, you know, making sure that all of the artists involved in this project use that specific, bass frequency and tuning standard. Again, it makes it more appealing to people that want to explore different types of music. And you know, you did mention that I think Chill Cat with his medieval lo-fi playlist was kind of a right place at the right time kind of thing, and it isn't lasting for them, because as we kind of expected with that person, and we all know that I have history with them, and you know, they have blocked me on many platforms because they previously botted a lot of my music. And
No. They were targeted.
Whatever the fuck.
Allegedly.
I have a very bizarre spike in my followings whenever I worked with this
It's called targeting.
When they were targeted.
Yeah.
But anyway, in typical fashion to this person, they have just filled the playlist with just their beats and their label releases, and you can go on and play it. They have maybe 1 or 2 tracks at the beginning from the artist Medieval Knievel, which is, you know, one of the artists that create this very interesting niche music.
Just enough to throw you off, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit.
The rest of it is just generic lo-fi, and much like when a couple of podcasts back when we mentioned that a label that had purchased a Spotify account with some big playlists and then just filled what was a Latino hip hop playlist with just generic lo-fi beats. It's just going to hemorrhage followers and plays.
Exactly.
There might be a spike, and this is kind of, again, you know, if you're going to create this kind of niche playlist, for example, if you're going to create this kind of niche playlist, you're going to have to commit to it, because listeners will flock to wherever the thing is that they want to listen to. If they click shuffle on what is supposed to be a medieval lo-fi playlist and all they get is generic sounding lo-fi sleepy beats, they're not going to stick around, because they want that feeling that this person in that TikTok explained, which was, you know, doing chores and whatever, feeling like they're in a medieval tavern. What's the point if all I'm hearing is just like the same fucking generic music? That's not the case.
Best case scenario, they will probably check the playlist and find these like top 3-4 tracks that are actually medieval lo-fi sounding thing, and then they will go to the artist page, and then they will follow the artist, and then at least maybe something good will come out of it.
I do disagree with that, because of the way that Spotify or the way that people consume music on Spotify. I don't think that would be the case. I think what will happen is the playlist will get it will get the streams, it will get a couple of plays, but for the most part, when it goes to just generic lo-fi stuff that has nothing to do with any sort of medieval thing, they'll just turn off, and that follow might remain, but they'll probably never play that playlist again. So instead, what you're getting is just a temporary follow that isn't going to have any effect. But that's why, you know, I always say, like, create stuff in a niche for sure, but kind of you gotta stick to it as well. There's
Yeah.
like, you know, I've got my Lo-Fi to Eat Cake to playlist because I wanted a playlist that was a melting pot of different lo-fi sounds. You know, it has some jazzier stuff, it has some boom bappy stuff, it has some like sleepier beat stuff, and more kind of like generic-y popular lo-fi sounds in it, because it is just this melting pot of music. You know, like a cake, it's made up of different ingredients. That was the concept. I'm yet to get my big break, but that's fine. You know, I'm not going to sit here and complain. Maybe one day someone will be like, I want to bake a cake and listen to lo-fi and search lo-fi cake. Unfortunately, I think it will come up with the label Lo-Fi Cake. I don't think I'm that lucky yet.
Or you should change your artist name to Lo-Fi Cake.
Oh God, no, I'm fine.
Oh,
I'm good with that.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just like it's super funny.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I think we can jump into the hot take topic that we have.
oh, the hottest topic that's happening right now.
The hottest.
Oh, I've just as a side note, I searched for Lo-Fi Cake. Unfortunately, it comes up with an artist called Lo-Fi Cakes Music.
Bummers.
It comes up with a song called Lo-Fi Cafe
Serving
by
lo-fi
Chill
cakes.
Hip Hop.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Damn, it doesn't even come up in the top selection of fucking
Yeah.
playlists. There's Alien Cake Lo-Fi that comes up, and then Lo-Fi Cafe, Lo-Fi covers. Damn, my playlist isn't even like.
I wonder when will, and this was I think a debate back in, what was it at some point, something with, I don't know, like when will, you know, all these platforms or whatever start having a little bit of more of a Q&A in the artists that they let on their platform. Like if you release music and your artist name is Chill Hop and you have nothing to do with the actual label, you shouldn't be able to use that name.
Yeah.
Or
Do you know what?
like
I think
lo-fi
I've just
hip hop records or something.
Oh God. See, I get a lot of submissions on daily playlists from. It's a very specific. I'm not even going to say label because I don't think it's a label. It's a very specific like organization that has maybe 6 or 7 different artists that are all just named like generic fucking like lo-fi sleep Callum or something like that.
Okay.
And luckily for me, they all have the exact same aesthetic on the covers, like the
okay.
image, and then there's like text over it, but it's a very specific font that they use.
Okay.
And I just go through and just fucking bin them all off because I have 2 playlists on daily playlists. One of them's Lo-Fi Cake, the other one is vocal lo-fi. So they're 2 very different, like one of them's like rap and singing and stuff with lo-fi, the other one's just instrumental. If I go on daily playlists and I get 2 of the exact same track being submitted to both playlists, I do not listen. I just bin it off straight away.
As you should.
If you're not taking a second to see that this is, you know, one of them's an instrumental playlist, one of them's vocals,
Okay.
and you're submitting your music to both,
Yeah, of course.
I'm not even going to waste my time listening to that. If you can't take 2 seconds, you're just seeing fucking lo-fi and ticking that little button. Get fucked. But yeah, I think I have just maybe uncovered a nice little bot army though. If you search, I've just opened up Spotify in a incognito window, searched for Lo-Fi Cake, and this Alien Cake music
Yeah.
there's like hundreds of different versions of this exact same playlist from loads of different like DL HAL 1975, PRZI 0640, and they are all the same tracks on all of these playlists.
Legit.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. There's no proper QA. If there's anything that the artist community should be pushing as an agenda, not only artists, maybe also like even labels, like indie labels, would be a proper quality assurance of the stuff that is out there.
Yeah.
You know, like there's sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Like for example, with when it comes to this fixed, quote unquote, fixed playlist from Universal, right? You see
Yep.
all that stuff on Spotify. You don't see that shit popping up on Apple Music or Deezer.
No.
There's like some sort of like quality assurance happening. Somebody's like checking that stuff. I was like, no, you're not allowed to do shit like that, like random stuff like that. But the main problem I think that we're facing, and this is I think I can speak for everybody here, whether it's like, passive listeners or indies or whatever, is that all these other little profiles call themselves, chill hop artists,
Yeah.
artists, or lo-fi hip hop beats, or this beats or
Yep.
that beats. They all get some streams every now and then. It's not just, bots or something like that. But all these streams is like streams that you and me and other hardworking artists are missing on because of
Yep.
all this fuckery happening. And I cannot be mad about these people who are doing this. Like, I'm not going to hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Well,
Like,
like I had a playlist submission last week. I told you about it, didn't I? That it was like an artist, and the track had a name, so it was like, I don't know, Summer Wine or some shit. And then in brackets after the track name, it was like Summer Wine in brackets, lo-fi beats to hip hop study, chill, relax,
get
sleep.
fucked.
Yeah, and I was like, the fuck, that looks so fucking stupid.
Like, it's not even like a proper term, like search term anymore. It's like it's so saturated, like it's fucking
Yeah.
stupid. Like I even like I was doing a little bit of like a research. I went into my research tag research hiatus like last week. Like, oh, I'm gonna find the best tags on YouTube and Instagram and whatever. Like, figure out the way why all the posts are like fucking flunking and shit like that.
Yeah.
And there's like, and I thought like, what if I put Lo-Fi Girl? Because I've seen like a couple of posts that blew up like from random labels or whatever, and they use that. And then you type like Lo-Fi Girls, like, oh, 120 results. Like, nobody even uses that. Like you cannot even, I don't know, hijack something like that, like a brand or whatever. Like, it doesn't make any sense even. And I'm like, what? I don't know. It's just like there has to be proper quality assurance instead of just like blindly allowing everything to just go through. And I guess, in order like not to just hold Spotify responsible, I think the responsibility starts with the distribution. I know for a fact that DistroKid is a little bit strict with that kind of stuff. Like, they have like some sort of guidelines. I had major issues when it came to covers a bunch of times, like when it comes to the text that is included or the style of the cover or the quality of the photo that you've uploaded. I mean, back in the day when they started, you could just upload MP3s and release them, which was like the shittiest thing. I've done it because I didn't know any better, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had to like export my tracks with 119,000 kilohertz quality. So, shit like that. But I think it starts, whether we like it or not, with the distribution. There has to be some sort of like a Q&A in distribution so that the second layer of quality assurance should be from Spotify. So then there's not going to be fucking saturated things. There's not going to be fuckery happening. There's not going to be a lot of people abusing the system. There still will be people abusing the system, just not so many.
Yeah. I think though that brings a really sketchy territory in for Spotify, especially if they were to start saying like, "Hey, no, you're not releasing music under what is essentially a genre name." I mean, let's be real. The lo-fi scene would be fucked if they actually started cracking down on labels using
100%.
labels using their label name as an artist. Like,
Yeah.
it's all just. I think if Spotify was just gonna come and start putting the foot down on things like that, it would be really sketch for them, especially because then it stops people from essentially doing what they want, which I guess is the point of that. But at the same time, we have this freedom now where anyone can upload anything, and yes, all right, actual generic, just actual trash does just get put into obscurity. There is I think if you search the sound of everything,
Mm.
it's just a generated playlist, which is just everything on Spotify, and you just shuffle it just to hear some really interesting stuff. There are like websites created for that find tracks that have never been played,
Okay.
and you know you can kind of see why,
Yeah.
because you know trash does get uploaded. You know that's that freedom of being able to do that. I do think it would get into a real sketch territory if we started to get, especially like a platform like Spotify, come along and say, actually, no, your music is fucking shocking. But I don't know. There's a part of me that maybe thinks, what if that actually happened? Would you ever see any Lazy Boy Loops music? Probably not.
No. No.
But yeah, the if we're going to move on,
Yeah.
just in the
Let's.
last few minutes, the spicy topic that's taken producer talk at the not even producer talk, producer Twitter at the moment is so Tracklib put out an article about to kind of summarize it. There is this group on Discord called Sample Hunters, where a lot of people get together and they're essentially sample snitching. For a
Exposing
while,
people.
yeah, for a while they've been using things like, you know, Shazam and stuff like that, but they've now figured out a way to utilize Google Assistant and its new, I guess, maybe AI shit. Basically, they're utilizing Google Assistant to find the source of samples that are even less than a second long, and
It's
they
fucking
they're
crazy, man.
discovering, yeah, they're discovering the tiniest little snippet in Daft Punk's Discovery
Yeah. Yeah.
album, and you know, so now this article's come out that, you know, no sample is safe even down to a fucking millisecond. There's just this whole, like, I think there's like three sides that there are on Twitter at the moment. There are those that are standing there being like, well, using samples and not clearing them is illegal, full stop.
Yeah.
Okay. There are some that are just like, shut the fuck up, let us sample if it's not taking an exact, you know, if it's not taking the first
If it's
5 seconds of the
transformative, at
track
least,
doing,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, if it's doing nothing to it. And then there are those that are like, would I like a rapper to take my, this is again me repeating an exact tweet of this particular camp. Would I like a rapper to take my exact track, remix it, put it out, and not give me any credit? No. Would I like for an artist to come along and sample my music and turn it into something completely different without my permission? They were like, yes.
Yeah.
So there are those that are in that camp that are like, you know, you're taking music and you're turning it into something completely new,
Mm.
not doing what most of lo-fi do, which is grab a fucking splice sample, leave it as is, loop it for an entire
And
one
let's
minute
go.
30
Yeah. Yeah.
seconds, and let's go. You know, those like Mad, because we've got Madlib that are being fucking exposed. The Japanese lo-fi hip hop pioneer, which I can never pronounce, either New Jabbies or New Hub, whatever the fuck. I can't speak Japanese and
New
I don't know the
jabs.
pronunciation of it. New Jabs. Who else is being? Let me just get the article up.
Artificial
So
digging. How Google's AI now reveals what producers
yeah,
sampled. The days of hidden
exactly,
samples are over.
exactly. Now it's an interesting because in the article they talk about in 2011, Jazzy Jeff was at the Do Over and he was playing some music, and he starts playing Herbie Hancock's Jessica, which everyone's a bit strange, thinking like, oh, you know, why are you playing a Herbie Hancock track? But then he loops 2 bars, pitches it down by 14 semitones, and the melody of a Mobb Deep track plays, because he's figured out where this sample came, like
Exactly. Yeah.
what they
Yeah.
did with this sample. He does it live, and
That's
it
fucking
blows people's minds,
that's
like
fucking
Questlove.
skills, bro. That's fucking skills.
Exactly. And you know, there's obviously the side of things now where people are like, look, you know, these guys and girls probably, but in this article it mostly just mentions like, you know, Madlib and stuff like that. These people used sampling as an art form. They weren't just grabbing a fucking 30-second, like a 5-second loop, and then just making a beat around it. They were taking like, there's a guy on TikTok that's been going through like who sampled that website and
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
through the
I know that.
Prodigy, and the fact that like the Prodigy sampled like Nirvana, Led Zeppelin, and then a bunch of just random like jazz shit in just one track, but we're using such the tiniest little snippets here and
Yeah.
there to create something that you wouldn't have even thought
No.
was samples. Like that's just a an art form in itself, and the fact that you, and this is me coming at it from a kind of personal thing, that admittedly I've been getting into like sampling stuff, both with like Splice, but maybe bits outside. You know, I experimented with TrackLib. I jumped on there to see how that works and how their pricing works and stuff like that. And you know, to do it well and well enough to be able to pull something out of what is essentially nothing takes a hell of a lot of skill.
Oh, yeah.
And the simple fact that there's just a bunch of, what I'm gonna say is just a bunch of fucking goody two shoes sitting in this Discord channel being like, this Daft Punk song sampled this 2.2 seconds of this fucking track, and it's not in the writing credits. No.
No.
It's like, fuck off, get a fucking life, you know?
Do
Like,
we know?
you're sitting there trying to call out two French fucking producers that at this point in time, even if it got found out that they were taking samples that haven't been cleared, I'm sure
They've
the
cleared
estate,
everything. Yeah, everything is cleared already. Yeah.
No, I'm sure even if it was undiscovered and now they're like, oh, actually that wasn't cleared, they'll just be like, okay, and the label, because they're on a fucking major label, will just turn around and be like, can we have it? And whoever owns it will like, yeah, as long as I get paid.
Do we know if these people were ever involved with making music, or if it's just like, or if they're just people who
So
are
it
just like
mentions-
exposing them or something?
It mentions two pseudonyms. One of them,
The founder of the sample
called Lobelia, and then there's one called DJ Pasta. So again, DJ Pasta could be a producer.
Yeah, I don't know. A bunch of all that stuff is like when some, like I personally, my personal take is this. You know, great application of AI. Congrats. If you can like identify using Google Assistant's API and you can identify a sample that is less than a second, you know, that's a great application of something. I'm pretty sure there will be like a bunch of major labels who would like to get their hands on that and just fucking suing people, well, claiming stuff left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Like nobody's safe. That'd be great. But then again, like, why? Like the whole fucking
Exactly.
concept,
What's the point?
like, yeah, the whole fucking concept of hip hop as we know it
Yeah.
was based on samples, on sampling something, on taking something and fucking with it and making something new. Like the entire fucking music of the human fucking race is based on, you know, more or less sampling each other, like in recycling the same stuff over. Sometimes you can just, you know, hear a sample, play over it, and then use it. Or just back in the day, because maybe you didn't have the opportunity or maybe you weren't as musically proficient, you would just like cut it and use it. And coming now in 2020 or 2023, where it's like, you know, Splice is out. Like you don't even have to try. It's just like, boom, download, let's go. Like it's not that you have to put it on the record there and then record it and make sure you cut it and load it in your fucking loop machine and then da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Or be an actual turntablist where you can have like the same record and you can actually turntable the living shit out of the sample. But I'm with you on that. Like, you know, great, but you know, you telling on anybody, you're just being a fucking snitch. Like, you don't have to. Like, the Who Sampled website has been out there for ages, you know, which is great, and it's people like me and you, or a lot of other people who are are. It's just an informative website. It's not like really to tell on people. It just provides information. It's like you would go sometimes there, and then you would find like a good sample. It's like, oh, I want to fuck with it.
Yeah.
Sure,
Well, the
but
amount of time people in the lo-fi scene have fucking sampled Silo Dynasty.
oh, guilty. Me too. I done it. I've done it.
I don't know. There's definitely a part of me that's kind of like, do you know what? Stop being such a fucking busybody and mind your business.
Yeah, just
But then
fuck off.
at the same,
Like
at the same time,
why?
like I get it. It is taking music that someone else has created, and it takes that other person's talent and makes new stuff out of it. But I think if done correctly, it's an art form in itself. And I think if we're gonna start policing that shit, I do think the future of hip hop, like even today's hip hop, you have tracks that are coming out like today are still sampling music from like the 60s and 70s. The only difference is, so like Call Me When You Get Lost, Tyler the Creator's latest album, that has tons of samples in it. The only difference is he has the ability and the connections now to clear those samples.
Yeah.
And it will create such a really weird, I guess, once again, it will be just music gatekeeping where, the bigger artists, how are artists going to come up with a specific sound if all then they have available to them is royalty-free samples, which I've heard people do some really fantastic like stuff that sounds like it's from like the 70s and 60s and 70s, but it kind of then limits the creativity of artists if we are going to really sort of police that shit. At the same time, though, there was another tweet that was like, you guys clearly aren't digging enough if the stuff that you're using has been digitized. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. If you're finding wax that was pressed in the fucking 20s that hasn't been put on streaming services and you're sampling that, yeah, go on then.
Yeah.
At this point,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, I mean, there's so much music out there on vinyl that hasn't been digitized that I wouldn't worry that much right now. There's so much music. So I don't know.
For sure. I don't know. I think the whole process that there's just a little fucking Discord set up for what they call themselves, the sample hunters. Like, get fucked. How sad is that? I'm sorry. If that makes me an arsehole, that makes me an arsehole.
It feels like a little bit of like a, I don't know, self-centered circle jerking thing. Yeah, it's like great.
Like Randall from fucking Monsters Inc. Just this little fucking weasel that's like, I'm gonna find out where that's from and I'm gonna tell the teacher.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
It's like the sea flea on SpongeBob who wants to find the secret recipe of the crab. What is it?
Sea flea. What do you guys call it?
What
Plankton.
is it? What is it? Yeah. What? It's like a flea. It's like a tick, right?
It's plankton.
It's plankton. Sorry, I don't know. I felt like it was like an underwater tick
Come
or
on.
something. Shit
How
like that.
can you be talking about?
Dude, I'm sorry. I just like I never got into it. It's like I don't know. Excuse me.
I want the secret Krabby Patty formula.
Exactly.
more
The crab
Krabby Patty.
patty. Yeah. I don't know. Could be that. Whatever.
SpongeBob.
God damn it. All I know is like the smallest character and he has the heaviest voice. So
Yeah. No, he
deepest
he
voice.
does have a
like a
quite a deep voice.
Yeah. So it's plankton. I didn't realize that.
That's his name, and that's I guess what he is.
Oh, what is it?
It's plankton. God damn it.
I know, I get it. Fucking twat.
The weirdest thing that I
Yeah.
that I get from SpongeBob SquarePants is that Mr. Krabs' daughter is a whale.
What? Really? Now I'm not even. I don't want to even tread into these waters. This is getting.
There
weird.
was a TikTok the other day that was like, a childhood cartoons are so, so full of innuendos. Like, SpongeBob is based in Bikini Bottom.
Yeah.
There is a character called Sandy Cheeks.
Yeah. I see where this is going.
And it was just
First
stuff like
live on
really-
YouTube already taken down, breaking community guidelines.
Like our childhood cartoons are,
Well, either way, I'm definitely going to use SpongeBob in the title of the podcast. This is going to be great for SEO.
perfect.
Yeah.
Last 10 seconds of Sponge.
Sponge my cheeky bottoms,
Yeah,
my sandy cheeks and bikini bottoms.
exactly.
Okay, yeah. I guess with that said, this has been relatively successful live, like for the first time. Boomers actually made it. The boomers made it, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to read what dipshit is also like mentioning there. Sadly there's like a slight delay, like there's also like with Instagram Live, but it is what it is. Oh well.
Well, that's been our first YouTube live.
Of many to come. I think everything is gonna start putting out there. We're probably gonna, do a better effort next time.
Maybe
hold ourselves accountable or whatever. I mean, technically, scheduling something like that, we can schedule it from the beginning of Saturday or something like that. It could be just sitting on my YouTube, like people are like, oh yeah, waiting for the thousands of people waiting for us to go live.
Exactly.
Maybe we should do some sort of like music reviews live.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Lol.
I'm good.
Okay.
Do you know what? I hate that.
I know.
I just
know.
hate those that sit there and fucking judge people's music on streams. Like,
I know. I was just being sarcastic.
well,
Yeah.
I've got to piss now. So.
Okay, great. I'm probably gonna grab some to eat. It was great. Thanks, y'all, for being on
Thanks
this
for joining the Sunday Roast podcast
on
20,
YouTube.
30.
Yeah,
On
we're
YouTube.
we're moving up
You
in
can
this fucking.
follow me down here at LAZYBOYLOOPS.
There's no links for Lazy Boy Loops, but let's go.
There is. I
There
can
is,
see
right?
it on the.
Shit, god damn it.
There's no links in the
It also-
description, but like
dude,
down there,
it also
says LAZYBOYLOOPS.
It also says that the description says on YouTube is like, welcome to episode 10.
Oh yeah,
The title's like
Wow.
episode 30. God damn it.
so professional.
I know,
So
right? Like
fucking professional.
we are. It's ever since we lost our sponsors